Welcome to another Nusida training session to get more familiar with X-Ray. So, here if you see I've got few of the epics which currently have certain set of stories associated with that. We have got design stories. We have development stories, and now it's time for us to create a test for the same. Now let's work on something similar and relate these tests to a specific purpose. Back to the development test case and development story and try to work on how X-Ray interacts with Jira. You're not only going to create a test, but you're also going to understand how tests can be linked or related to X-Ray, which makes quite a bit of sense in terms of traceability, reporting, requirements coverage, and so on. You're going to get all of that completed as a part of the exercises which we parallelly do while creating a test. All you need to do is click on the Create button here. And certainly, you will have to, select the project which you will be working on and drop down here. Now you have some issue types from the X-Ray. We'll be picking up the test as the issue type and then start creating the requirement of the writing test cases to meet the expectations. Currently the screen is the same as that of the other issue types, so you need to check with your Jira administrator to customize it. I'll try if I can add one tutorial at the end of the series to customize these screens and show you how it can be more relevant. A lot of you must be thinking at this point that generally this should show me the test case details and everything right now. This is just an ordinary issue type. Once you create this, that's where you get the freedom of writing your test steps the way you want to write it. Let us create a test story here that as a tester validate that user can navigate to sports segment page to view or read the story related to news only and click on Create. If you want, you can add more things, like you can include the components. And you can include the details if you know how it is related to the user story. This is where the traceability and requirement coverage will be built up. I need to identify the relationship first, that is whether it is blocked, blocks or so on. Then I say, now it's the tests. This test story will be testing a development story. Now what is the development story, which you have created for it? I probably must go back and investigate this. I don't remember what story ID I created. So let me just copy this and go back quickly to check which is to test the interface. So, build a list of sports-related news items. MTP6 is my ID, so let me quickly create once again. So here the issue type is test, and I would say as a test to validate this component is UI UX. And it says it tests MTP6. If you don't see the suggestion here, all you have to do is start typing the ID and you will have the suggestion listed there. This is the exact key. I just pull it up, fixed version goes to wave 1, and again all these are pre-populated from my previous project. Don't wonder about this. Go back to the Jira tutorials to get more about it. Let's assign this to somebody if you already know who can be assigned to it. Or leave it as unassigned, because during the sprint planning session you will identify who will be working on this. You can also create a quick label to identify these items under a particular category, and I can create that. If you've got the epic, you can select the epic here. This goes to basically the sports segment. I'll tag it to the sports segment. There is no sprints created yet, and I would say I would like to create more tests. Then select this option and click on Create. The first test is now created. That was for UI UX, and now let's try creating the other test, which is for the login. So, say as a tester validate that a user can register on Daily Hand News app. The project which I'm using here is the Daily Hand News app. And the freedom of creating another issue. Checking this button enables me to retain the information from the previous page. I don't really have to do it except the relationship, because that can be unique. I'll do this later because I pretty much don't remember if that which is the story, which relates to that, right? I've got two stories here, MTP7 and MTP8. So, I pretty much don't remember. I can just say, that's all, what I can do right now. I'll go back and do that later. Click on Create, and I would like to create one more test. so that we have some tests handy so as a tester validate that a user can. Or I would say registered user, because that's the criteria for making sure that only registered users can log in and it tests again some other stories. I don't have to waste my time filling up all the other details. So, this time, I'll just say uncheck this and click on Create, which creates 3 tests on my dashboard. It's just going to get loaded. This is my backlog, which shows me the 3 tests which I recently created. Now, given that, I have access to all the information. I can also do the relationships. This is for the registered user, and there's a registration user ID. Here is like interface for new user to sign up on the Daily Hunt app, right? I'll link this to this one, which is MTP7. How do you do the linkage? I click on this button here. That is the link. Click on this and I would say the relationship should be okay. Link issue, and I would say it tests, okay. Testing the story number MTP7, okay. Now the solution comes here. Click on the link and same way for this. Sorry, this was for the login, right? Thus, that's the wrong thing here. Let us remove this. This is how you remove a link and add a new one here. The new user can register using assignee. This is MTP8, okay. It tests MTP8. So, that's simple, and you just must link it the same way for the other one, which is to register MTP7. Let's quickly link that also, and now you will see a transformation in your Jira. That's great, okay. So given that, we now have done all that, what we wanted to do. Let's jump into one of the tests, and you can always open that from the issues, or if you remember the ID, you can open that from there as well. However, open one of the tests. For example, let me go to registered users, who can log in Daily Hunt here, and click on this. When I click on a test as an issue type which is coming from X-Ray, I would see a different interface altogether, right? I would see an interface, which presents test details here. This is the benefit you will get from the X-Ray. Jira does not give you these kinds of options available by default, because if I go to a user story, for example, MTP8, right? A development story and user story are inbuilt issue items in Jira and doesn't have any option of test details by default. Most of us working in any organization manage test cases under X-Ray, under Excel, or just writing the description and detailing the test steps in Jira, etc. We want something more feasible. So that's where the X-Ray caters you. So, if a user story is built, you do not have anything to do here. You will have to write everything under the description, and we will be doing everything as a part of it. But when it comes to the X-Ray, you will have a freedom of different tabs being displayed to you. You will be able to create a test, and under the test, you will be having the test detail segment, where you can see that now what type of test it is. So yes, I would like to tell you that X-Ray allows you to create a manual test, a generic test, or a cucumber test. We'll be talking about the other options later. Let's select the manual test today, and then what you would see here is, do you want to add a step or create a new one, or to import the test from the Excel, if you have managed it somewhere outside? You have 2 options. Either you can call new or call an existing test, or import already existing test. The open dialog is just to open the dialog box in a separate tab instead of working on the same window. By clicking on new, it will anyways open a new tab. Now here, and will give you the freedom of managing your steps, your test data and expected result, right? Let's quickly write up some test cases here so that we have a good understanding of how to write test cases. And let's enter. This is for login, so enter username as specified and the data will be required here. Say for example, I would say hello1 and expected result as username should be entered and displayed, right? I got my very first test here. But at the same time, I would like to highlight, if you want to make more formattings here during writing these steps of data or expected result, you can make use of these format options. Like you can try with your test tiles. You can make, Heading 1, Heading 2 kind of format. You can make use of bold, italic, etc. You know, a lot of options are here. You can make use of different color codes for the text. You can use bulleted points, and many things are here, which can be very well utilized to make it look more professional and highlightable. So, particularly something like this, right? So, click on Create. And your first step is ready. Now it's time to write our remaining steps for the login. You, again, continue with doing the new step. But you also have the option to create a new step from here or call a test. If you want to call the remaining ones from somewhere else, you can do that, or you can even copy this. You can shrink it, you can export it, or you can clone it, you can move it to the top or down, and delete it. Right, these are the options, which you get on the right side, quick actions which you can do with the test. So, let's clone it. It becomes quick for us to write our remaining test. As you see, the next step would be quite like enter the password. So, let me just say enter password as specified. The password is going to be, say for example, password @1 right, and the password must be entered and displayed. Now it should be entered as masked. It shouldn't be displayed. So do you see that while cloning the test, it became pretty much easier for me to write the next step without writing a lot of details by doing just minimal changes, and we were done. Let's quickly create a new step here further, which is the last step. So, click on Login button. And there's no data to support it because that step is a click operation and the user's homepage. Assuming that this is what the expectation is, the homepage should be displayed. This is where we'll be making it clear and just say create. Now, at the same time, you observe that each step has an attachment section. If you want, you can attach some screenshots or any specific items to be supporting how to execute this or which window or which field you're talking about. Don't understand this as like this is your defect snapshots, attachments, or execution snapshots. No, you're still writing or designing the test. You're not executing the test. So, we were just creating. There's a screenshot to tell people that, where to perform this, which login button are you talking about? You can include a snapshot there. So that's pretty much to write the test. Happy testing and see you next time.